In the last lecture, we were discussing about the chemical properties of alcohols. Chemical properties of alcohols we studied under three categories. One is reactions involving breaking of oxygen-hydrogen bond. Second category is, in that we discussed about the acidic character, acidic nature of alcohols and phenols. We discussed about the esterification reaction. And one important reaction here we discussed about that when phenol can also undergo esterification reaction, number one. Number two is phenol, not only phenol, rather than it is salicylic acid. Salicylic acid on reaction with, or you can say on reaction with the acetic anhydride or on acetylation, salicylic acid will be converted to aspirin. This was one of the important reaction which everyone should understand, what is aspirin, the formula and everything. Then the next category reaction we studied about the breaking of carbon-oxygen bond, where this entire OH group will be substituted in form of a nucleophile, and that is nucleophilic reaction. We discussed about nucleophilic substitution reaction, and we discussed those reactions in the first chapter as well as in this chapter also. Then the third category reaction is where the entire alkyl and OH group are changed. In that we studied a very important reaction. The mechanism of that reaction is also in our syllabus, that is dehydration, acidic dehydration, where at 443 Kelvin alcohols are converted to alkene, while at 413 Kelvin alcohols are converted to ether. This is what we discussed about. Then we discussed about the oxidation reaction. We discussed that upon oxidation alcohols will be converted to carboxylic acid if it is a strong oxidizing agent used. If it is a weak oxidizing agent like CrO3 or PCC, then it will be converted to aldehyde or a ketone, not to the carboxylic acid. One more thing is there, that if it is a secondary alcohol, that can be converted to a ketone. But if it is a tertiary alcohol, oxidation can happen only with a very strong oxidizing agent and will result into a product with a lesser number of carbon atoms because of the cleavage of carbon-carbon bond. Lesser number of carbon atoms as compared to the parent. This we will discuss in the next chapter also in detail. So right now I'm not emphasizing on it. Then the next category reaction of alcohols itself, which is left here, that is dehydrogenation. Dehydrogenation, when alcohols vapors are passed over red hot copper at 573 Kelvin, that is RCH2OH, when the primary alcohol vapor, maybe ethanol, methanol, etc., are passed over red hot copper at 573 Kelvin, it will be converted to aldehyde. If it is a secondary alcohol like RCHOH, R', so if this is the secondary alcohol and we do the reaction in presence of copper at 573 Kelvin, it will be converted to a ketone. And if it is a tertiary alcohol, say for example, if it is a tertiary butyl alcohol like this, if it is a tertiary alcohol, this will not undergo dehydrogenation under the same conditions, it will undergo dehydration. So dehydration means OH from here, H from here. So this is something very interesting about the tertiary alcohols. The tertiary alcohols don't undergo dehydrogenation. On heating with copper at 573 Kelvin, it will be converted to an alkene because of the dehydration taking place. So OH from here, H from here, what will be left here? That is CH3, C double bond, CH2, CH3. So this is the compound. So if we name this compound, this is the continuous carbon chain, this is the substituent. So we are getting 2-methylpropene. 2-methylpropene is the product obtained plus water. Right? So this is the reaction taking place here. Now we are starting with the chemical properties of phenols. Chemical properties of phenols. The first category of reaction which we are beginning with, that is electrophilic substitution reactions in phenols. electrophilic substitution reactions. The first category, electrophilic substitution reaction, means we are talking about the ring substitution. So first of all, we should know whether OH is an activating group or it is a deactivating group. OH is an activating group or a deactivating group can be best understood with the help of the resonating structures, the way we did in the previous class as well as in class 12 in the acidic character of phenol. There we discussed these are the structures, resonating structures for phenol. So I'm not repeating all the structures. I think you can write all. But one thing you should observe, that this is making benzene ring electron rich. So if it is making benzene ring electron rich, it means it is an activating group. So what is OH? OH is an activating group. It will activate benzene ring for the electrophilic substitution. One more thing is there, because it is increasing electron density at ortho and then para position. So that is why, what is its directive influence? It is ortho and para directing group. It is ortho and para directing group. So these two things which we should know about phenol before we start with the topic. So now what are the examples of electrophilic substitution in phenol? The first example is, that is nitration. We are starting with nitration. We all know that nitration happens in presence of a nitrating mixture, like say for example we have phenol. If we do its reaction with concentrated HNO3 in presence of concentrated H2SO4, it will be converted to 2,4,6 trinitrophenol. It will be converted to 2,4,6 trinitrophenol, which is known as picric acid. 2,4,6 trinitrophenol, or this is also known as a picric. It is also known as picric acid. It's a yellow color. It's a yellow colored solid. So picric acid will be prepared. So we should pay attention to this thing, that OH is an activating group. That is how it has activated the benzene ring to that extent that in place of getting a mono substitution, rather than getting the NO2 only at ortho or only at para position, we are getting tri substitution of the benzene ring. So why this tri substitution is happening? That is because of the activating nature of OH group. Now if we want to get only nitro group at one position, then what we have to do, we can't take nitrating mixture. We will be taking a mild acid, that is we will be doing its nitration in presence of dilute HNO3. In presence of dilute HNO3, when we will do its nitration, we will be getting orthonitrophenol and paranitrophenol. The mixture of the two will be obtained. One very important thing about this particular reaction, the reaction itself is very, very important, that what happens when phenol react with the concentrated HNO3 in presence of concentrated H2SO4, and what will be the product when it reacts with dilute HNO3. So this reaction itself is very important, but apart from this, another important aspect of this reaction is that whatever the product we are getting here in this reaction, that is orthonitrophenol and paranitrophenol, both are isomers of each other. How can we separate them? They can be separated by steam distillation. They can be separated by steam distillation. So we can prepare them, we can separate them by steam distillation. Can you please tell me which of the two will be having or which of the two will be more volatile, or you can say will be steam volatile? Which of the two? Orthonitrophenol or paranitrophenol? This thing we discussed in class 11. Again here we are discussing about this, that is OH nitro, N double bond O, single bond O. So here is the hydrogen bonding taking place. This is intramolecular hydrogen bonding. What about the para isomer? Para isomer will be showing intermolecular hydrogen bonding. How will it be? This is OH. Here is NO2. So this oxygen single bonded will be hydrogen bonded to the O, N double bond O, like this. OH, and then again intermolecular. We know intermolecular hydrogen bonding is stronger. It is stronger bonding. Stronger bonding means this will be having higher boiling point. That is why it will be less volatile. This will be steam volatile. So which isomer out of the two is steam volatile? That is orthonitrophenol. Why? Because of the intramolecular hydrogen bonding, which is weaker than intermolecular hydrogen bonding. Now the next example of electrophilic substitution we are starting with, that is halogenation. Halogenation. Now phenol, when we do its reaction with bromine in presence of a polar solvent like water, it will be giving a tri-substituted product, that is OH, Br here, Br here, and Br here. So it is 2,4,6-tribromophenol, and it will be giving white precipitate. So this is one of the identification, or you can say this is one of the identifying test also for the phenol. Like if somebody asks you how will you distinguish phenol from some other compound, you may mention this test, that on reaction with bromine water it will be giving white precipitate because of the formation of 2,4,6-tribromophenol. So this is one of the important reaction. Now what happens when we don't take the polar solvent? We just take the reaction of bromine in some non-polar solvent like carbon disulfide or carbon tetrachloride, etc. Then it, because phenol will not be completely, or you can say phenol will be very less ionized. In presence of a polar solvent, it will be highly ionized. That is why it is forming the phenoxide ion, and that is why it will be giving a tri-substitution. While in this case, ionization of this will be less. That is why it will be giving mono-substituted product. So the product obtained here is 2-bromophenol, or you can say ortho-bromophenol and para-bromophenol. So if we want to get mono-substitution in phenol with bromine, then we have to take bromination in presence of a non-polar solvent. If we want to do it in presence of, if we want to do tri-substitution, then it has to be in presence of a polar solvent. So this is all about this reaction. Now the very special reaction of phenol, which is very, very, very important. What is that? That is Kolbe's reaction. First we finish with electrophilic substitution. Now we are starting with, that is Kolbe's reaction. What is this reaction? It is phenol on reaction with sodium hydroxide will be converted to sodium phenoxide first. This sodium phenoxide in presence of carbon dioxide followed by hydrolysis will be converted to salicylic acid. A very, very, very important reaction because a name reaction. This is salicylic acid and its IUPAC name is 2-hydroxybenzoic acid. Another very important reaction, that is Riemer-Tiemann reaction. Riemer-Tiemann reaction. Now what is this Riemer-Tiemann reaction? Here phenol on reaction with chloroform, CHCl3 and NaOH will be converted to, this will become ONA and here it will be CHCl2. When we further react it with NaOH, then it will undergo nucleophilic substitution. We will be getting ONA, CH, OH, OH. Then OH at the same carbon, 2-hydroxyl group at the same carbon is not stable. That is why it will lead to dehydration, and it will be, when we do its hydrolysis, it will be converted to salicylaldehyde, OH, and here it will be CHO. So this is what, this is salicylaldehyde. We may get salicylic acid also if in place of CHCl3 we take carbon tetrachloride. Then next is reaction of phenol with zinc dust. This reaction we did in class 11 also. When we do the reaction of phenol with zinc dust, we get benzene plus zinc oxide. Very important reaction for the conversion. Then next reaction is, that is phenol oxidation. Phenol on oxidation with a strong oxidizing agent like Na2Cr2O7 will be converted to benzoquinone. What is this benzoquinone? Sorry, this is a diketone like this. This is benzoquinone. So this is all about the chemical reactions or chemical properties of phenol. Next we will do in the next class. Thank you.